You voted and the results are in. The top 10 must-add players for this week in fantasy baseball is coming up next on Beat the Odds. Don't go anywhere. Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of Beat the Odds. I've got your top 10 hottest players to pick up for this week in fantasy baseball. Now, I want to thank all of you for casting 706 total votes, which was the driving force behind this week's list. Now, before I reveal the list, if you're a fan of this content, please smash that like button. And if you're new here and appreciate quality fantasy baseball insight, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so that way you don't miss an episode. Also, keep an eye out for the polls on who you should be picking up ahead of Week 16. Do you have a burning fantasy baseball question? Ask me on Q. Go to askmeonq.com/beattheodds, submit your question, and for a small fee, I will personalize a response and send it to your email. It's super easy to do, and it's a great way to get fantasy baseball advice while also supporting this channel. Now, let's kick off this list at number 10. We have Rhys Hines, 48% owned, 7 runs scored, 5 homers, 11 runs batted in, 2 stolen bases, and a .500 average over the last 2 weeks. The good? He's off to a phenomenal start to his major league career, with 5 long balls, including a grand slam, and 2 stolen bases to his credit in only 6 games played. The bad, he was sitting at a meager .699 OPS in the minors prior to his call-up. The ugly, he struck out in 43% of his plate appearances in AAA this season. I'd say enjoy the production for now because I really don't see it lasting very long. Let's go to number 9. We have Jeff Hoffman, 58% owned, 4 saves, 6 strikeouts, no ERA, and .40 whip over the last 2 weeks. Hoffman needs to be universally owned to this point. Out of all the relievers that has posted 10 or more saves to this point in the season, only Kirby Yates can boast a better ERA, whip, and K9 than Hoffman. Now, Hoffman, of course, has only registered 9 saves to date, but 4 have come within the last 2 weeks, and you can expect a lot more coming as we slide into the second half of the season. Moving on to number 8, we have Luis Garcia Jr., 48% owned, 9 runs scored, 3 homers, 9 runs batted in, a stolen base, and a .383 average over the last 2 weeks. Now, I have discussed Luis Garcia Jr. at length over the last few weeks, and as he has been a roster-worthy player for a while now. If he were playing for a bigger market, his ownership would be higher. If he could draw more walks, then he'd be hitting in the top half of the lineup, thus also pushing his ownership even higher. As it stands, look to Garcia to be a solid contributor in all 5 categories after the All-Star break. Moving on to number 7, we have Jarred Kelenic, 57% owned, 6 runs scored, 2 homers, 4 runs batted in, 2 stolen bases, and a .196 average over the last 2 weeks. Now, he has gone hitless in the last 3 games, and his on-base percentage is hovering around .300, which is not really what you want to see from your leadoff hitter. Luckily for Kelenic, the Braves don't seem at all willing to try to shake up their lineup until Michael Harris returns from his hamstring injury, which is still a while out yet. Kelenic's roster spot is the only reason why you should run with him. Once he's out of the leadoff spot, though, he can certainly be dropped. Let's go to number 6. We have Brooks Lee, 53% owned, 5 runs scored, 2 homers, 9 runs batted in, and a .333 average over the last 2 weeks. Now, you gotta love it when a team's top prospect gets the call and all of the at-bats he can handle out of the gates. That is what is going on right now with Brooks Lee. Royce Lewis's injury opened up the third base position, and Lee is running away with it. He has hit as high as 6 in the lineup, and he should be a figure even after Lewis returns. The Twins' number 2 prospect is a great speculative pickup for the second half of the season. Let's go to number 5. We have Rhys Hoskins, 59% owned, 5 runs scored, 3 homers, 8 runs batted in, and a .171 average over the last 2 weeks. One man's trash is another man's treasure. He hasn't seen the same amount of power that he had prior to tearing his ACL last year, but the more he distances himself from that injury, the more I believe that he's set up for a second half surge. I love the ballpark, I love the lineup, and I really do think he's got a shot at another 15 homers before the season ends. Power hitting first basemen are just not an easy find. Let's go to number 4. We have Drew Thorpe, 25% owned, a win, 6 strikeouts, a 2.19 ERA, and a .73 whip over the last 2 weeks. Now, Thorpe isn't going to blow you away with his fastball. Rather, he finds his success in a disappearing changeup that baffles his opponents. I believe that the league hasn't quite caught up to Thorpe yet, and of course, the team contacts will cap his wins, but his jump from Double-A to the big club can be based solely on his merits. He looks like a good stable arm to have at the back of your fantasy rotation. Let's go to number 3. We have Heston Kjerstad, 38% owned. Over the last 2 weeks, he got 3 runs scored, 2 homers, 9 runs batted in, a stolen base, and a .385 average. Now, after getting plunked in the head in Friday night's tilt against the Yankees, Kjerstad was just placed on the 7-day IL with concussion syndrome. Now, he's also just a strong side platoon, but it is worth noting that he has held his own in 59 at-bats against lefties in AAA this season, hitting .254 with 2 homers and a .776 OPS. If the Orioles decide to clear some outfielders by the trade deadline, then Kjerstad could be set up for a big second half. Let's go to number 2. We have Jameson Taillon, 49% owned, 2 wins, 14 strikeouts, a 2.77 ERA, and a .69 WHIP over the last 2 weeks. Taillon has always been a control master, limiting walks his entire career. Now he's doing a better job of inducing soft contact this year, which is critical for fly ball pitchers. He has only given up 11 home runs this season after surrendering 27 long balls last year. He's fought himself back into the starting pitcher's circle of trust, and he should be a good source of quality starts to finish off the year. And finally, at number 1, we have Ben Rice, 60% owned, 7 runs scored, 5 homers, 15 runs batted in, and a .250 average over the last 2 weeks. Now, I feel like I'm a bit late to the party here, but it is worth mentioning that Rice has become a fixture in the cleanup spot in the Yankees order. That's probably going to change as Stanton is set to return shortly after the All-Star break, but Rice is a safe bet to remain in a productive spot. My guess is that he's going to return to the leadoff spot as Alex Verdugo and DJ LeMahieu have just not been productive there in recent days. And that's going to do it here for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on the video and of course subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I am going to sign off for now, but I'm going to catch you guys on the next episode.